Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to actually cover something very interesting, which is the aspect of critical thinking when you are practicing for answer writing for the UPSC Civil Services exam. And obviously critical thinking is not limited only to UPSC. You will need the critical thinking skills when you are an administrator as an IAS officer, IPS officer, IFS officer, whatever service you are in. And you will also need, beyond the critical thinking skills, you will also need them to solve daily problems at your work. You will need them to obviously excel in this exam and do well in any kind of other exams you might be actually appearing for UPSC exam. So all those kind of things I'm going to cover today, how to develop these critical thinking skills, and I'm also going to share with you today in this video the answer, the overall. I'm not going to go into the details of the answer, but the pointers I want you to keep in mind when you are answering any question. This is one very interesting question asked in 2014 mains, which was about third battle of Panipat, and how these critical thinking skills are going to be very useful for you here. I will show you today. Okay, so first of all, what are critical thinking skills and how you have to use them in UPSC? Critical thinking skill is nothing but second order thinking, or thinking from all the different aspects, from all possible aspects, and using derivational skills. Now this is not mathematics, but derivational skills by I mean that you have certain knowledge X, and through that knowledge of X and Y you can derive something else Z, because you know this particular fact, or you have this information, or you have this knowledge. So the skill of deriving things logically through use of data, through use of information, etc., is what constitutes of critical thinking skills. Now in UPSC, critical thinking skills are very important because you need to analyze questions that are coming in the mains exam as well as the prelims. See, prelims, I can definitely say that to some extent you might need to know the information and then be able to answer it. But in the main, sometimes you might not need that information to be able to answer that question, because you have to use a critical thinking skills in order to answer it. Similar to question like this, you might not know much about the Battle of Panipat in details, but you can still answer this question without using any facts. You don't need to know who fought whom, you don't need to know what personality was involved in this war, what happened in this particular battle, but you can answer this question still by using your critical thinking skills that you have learned while studying for this exam. So this analysis, this power of analysis is something very important. Okay, so how to use this power of analysis? What can you do in order to answer UPSC questions effectively? So that I have covered here. I wanted to show you this again. I had mentioned this in the last video also, the Master Answer Writing book published by TMH McGraw-Hill, who has also published Lakshmikant. So in this book I have many chapters devoted to how to kind of break down your questions, break down the overall process of answering a particular question. And there I discuss about how you should handle the question, how you should break down the question and understand various aspects of the question, and how you should then handle the answer properly. So on page 68, here I talk about the keyword, the context and the demand of the question. And now what does that mean? Well, for any kind of UPSC, when we are we are covering any kind of UPSC topic, you have to understand the question by breaking it down into smaller parts. Directly see in this kind of a question, the one that I showed you right now, the third battle of Panipat one. Now here, if you just try to spew out the information that you have about this battle, that is not going to get you marks. If you write down who fought whom, the personalities, the events that happened, you are not going to get the marks. You have to write the reasons of why the battles of Panipat were actually happening in Panipat. The third battle of Panipat was fought in 1761. So why were so many empire-shaking battles fought there? So you have to understand the demand of the question, the context of the question. So here I with examples I am kind of helping you to understand that when you are doing a comparative analysis, when you are doing a problem solving question, or when you are doing explanatory questions, how to read those questions and how to understand those questions. Okay, so all this is given in this book, but this today I will show you the example that how would I think about this particular question. Now I know, let's say I am a candidate or an aspirant who has only very brief information about the Battle of Panipat, that I know it was fought uh, you know uh, against the invaders who were invading India at that time, and so armies were involved. That is the only information I know. How can I think about it? See, normally any question you are thinking about is going to have geographical factors, possibly, especially history question. It is going to have economic aspects or angles, different angles we are thinking about. Is going to have political angles, maybe environmental angles, any individual angles. Any individuals might have caused that to happen for whatever reasons. It might also have some logistical angles. This is kind of indirectly related to economic things. So all these kind of different things are normally associated, or maybe any social angles. So when you are thinking, you have to think holistically about all these angles when you are thinking about any particular question presented to you in UPSC. So your critical thinking skills, the first thing is you have to overall think about these things, and then from there you have to derive where you can go from there. So geographical factors here, yes, there can be geographical reasons why this particular battle was fought here. So when in your mind you are thinking that, even not knowing anything, you can in fact write in your answer that because of the geography of Panipat, because of the kind of terrain it offered to the different sides, because it is an extremely plain area where face to face battles can be fought and they can be seen, or the fact that it is lies at a sweet spot between Delhi and the northwest frontier from where the invading armies came. So it was a perfect resting point outside Delhi, which was the main capital who they were attacking, and it made sense for the Marathas to fight the battle there. So all these geographical reasons can make us believe that this battle was fought here. Okay, plains, the northwest frontier, the availability of water, because troops need water, availability of food. This can go to economic also, logistics also, but well, geography also plays a role into it, right? Then apart from that, the distance, the sweet spot. So all these things led to this. So even not knowing the facts, you don't have to do any ratta. These are the things that you will normally know and have a natural inclination to know. So that can be one. Then apart from that, now let us talk about logistics. Here supply chain was going to be very important, because when you're fighting a battle like that big, you have to ensure that your food supply is there, your weapon supply is there, people are able to easily get there or come. So it is important that communication roadways or communication ways have to be there, roadways, etc. So that is very important. So that's why logistically speaking, that was a good place to fight a battle, and maybe logistically it was more useful for the invaders, not for the Marathas. That I will leave upon you to ponder and maybe do some research on. Okay. Now the other thing you can think about here is also the fact that the availability of water. Here I have, I think, already kind of shown you that availability of water is very, very important. Okay, so apart from that, what else comes to your mind? Think about it, and then perhaps we will go ahead and jump into further into this question, because that will help us. I want you to think, okay, because I have given you one particular area of thought to go into. Now I want you to think of other things. Maybe the strategic location obviously again related, but the GT road, this entire area lies on the Grand Trunk Road, the historical Grand Trunk Road, which connects Central Asia to India. And obviously, it is natural for any invading army to use the existing routes which have already been existing. Okay, so that is important. Obviously, it was close to Delhi, so it was easy for the Marathas also to kind of move the logistics, like I said, which I have already shown you. The open terrain is a very important one, the plain. Now again, this is a geographical factor because it was devoid of hills. But the interesting thing is, Marathas were actually very well equipped in fighting battles in the guerrilla style, which they fought in the hills and in the Deccan area. But here, this was an entire plain area. So it was definitely useful because when you are moving a massive army of 1,50,000 people or something, you're moving the cavalry, you're moving the artillery. So these kind of big civilizational battles, you might call them, require a plain area. So for that, it made a lot of sense to fight this particular battle here. So that is why this battle was also potentially fought here. Okay. Apart from that, I think water and rain is important, rainfall. Now this battle was fought in January, so I don't know if they thought about that, but normally the rainfall is not that much in this area, so it is easier to fight. You don't have to go through that entire this thing. Okay. Apart from that, in this region, food was available readily. Your artisans were available who could potentially build your weapons on a quick short notice. So that also obviously helps, and that could also play a role. We have come up with this so many reasons, but at the end of the day, it is important to know that the location of Panipat was the most important thing why the Battle of Panipat took place. They are right in the middle of Delhi and the northwest frontier from where the invaders were coming. But then when you are sitting in an exam, when you have to write this particular question in maximum 6 to 7 minutes max, that's when you end up writing a lot of nonsense instead of writing the correct thing that the examiner is expecting. So what happens, you will put all the facts and factoids. It's good to drop in the keywords and the factoids, but you should be answering the question also. So I suggest to all of you that whenever you have these kind of questions coming in front of you, don't panic, think, use your critical thinking skills, develop those critical thinking skills, use the book I have provided you guys, and I am very sure you can then do well in the UPSC exam. Okay, thanks, bye bye, take care, see you again.